The house was never truly quiet. It breathed at night. Ion could hear its soft creaks in the wooden floor, the low hum of the refrigerator, the distant sound of traffic outside. And sometimes, he heard Zara, not her voice, just her movement. Tonight, he lay on his side of the bed, staring at the dark ceiling. From the other room, her room now, he heard a drawer open, then close. Footsteps. A pause. Another step. They lived under the same roof, yet a wall thicker than concrete stood between them. He didn't ask why she no longer slept beside him. He didn't ask when that decision had been made. He just accepted it the way people accept bad weather silently. Mornings were worse. They no longer shared breakfast. Zara ate early, standing near the kitchen counter, scrolling through her phone. Ion came later, reheating cold tea and bread. Sometimes their eyes met, but only for a second, like strangers passing in a crowded street. "Morning," he would say. She replied, not looking up. No questions, no stories, no warmth. He remembered when mornings used to be loud. Zara would sing while making tea, badly and proudly. He would tease her about it, and she would throw a towel at him, laughing. They used to talk about dreams, bigger houses, children, travel, growing old together. They had promised each other forever without understanding how heavy that word could become. Now, forever felt like a long punishment. At night, he sometimes closed his eyes and saw her the way she used to be, sitting beside him on the floor, eating cheap noodles, laughing at nothing. He remembered how she used to touch his arm when she spoke, how she looked at him like he was enough. He wondered when he stopped being enough. Ion was not blind. He felt the distance before he could explain it. The air between them was cold. Conversations died before they were born. Touch had disappeared like a language they both forgot. But he never begged. He never said, "Tell me what's wrong." He never said, "Please choose me again." Because deep inside, he feared the answer. And because some pride still lived in him, wounded, but breathing. He told himself, silence was strength. That waiting was better than chasing a truth that might destroy him. Zara had changed. Her clothes were different, brighter, tighter. Her phone never left her hand. She smiled more, but not at him. Sometimes she would sit alone and smile at her screen, soft and private, like someone whispering sweet words into her ear. When he walked into the room, the smile disappeared. "Who are you talking to?" he once asked casually. "No one," she said too quickly. The house noticed everything. One evening, Ion returned early from work. The lights were low. Zara was sitting on the couch, her phone glowing in her hands. She was smiling, not politely, not socially, but deeply, like her heart was being touched. She didn't hear him enter. He stood there quietly, watching. Then she saw him and quickly turned the phone face down. Her smile vanished. Something in his chest tightened. In that moment, Ion knew. Silence was no longer protecting him. It was hiding something that wanted to be found. Zara chose the evening carefully. The table was set to plates, warm food, even candles. It felt like a performance. Ion noticed it the moment he walked in. She was smiling too much, moving too fast, nervous energy hiding under excitement. "Sit," she said. "I made your favorite." He sat without question. His eyes scanned her face, searching for something real behind the smile. She took a deep breath. Her hands trembled slightly as she placed them on the table. "Ion, I have news." He nodded. "Go on." She looked down, then back up, eyes shining. "You're going to be a father again." The words landed softly, but inside him, they crashed. He smiled, slowly, carefully, the kind of smile people wear at funerals. Inside his chest felt empty. Not heavy, not broken, just cold. Again meant there had been a before. But the last time he remembered touching her, really touching her, was months ago. Winter rain against the windows. Her back turned to him even then. The memory came clearly. He had reached for her. She had said she was tired. He had pulled his hand back without arguing. That night was the last. Months. He looked at her, now this woman claiming a miracle that didn't belong to him. "How far along?" he asked calmly. "Almost 3 months," she replied quickly. Too quickly. He nodded slowly, did the math in his head. The numbers refused to obey her story. He looked up and said quietly, "I haven't touched you in months." The air froze. Zara's smile broke. Her eyes widened, then blinked too many times. She laughed, but it was wrong. Thin, cracked. "You're stressed," she said. "You don't remember things lately. Work has messed with your head." Ion didn't raise his voice, didn't accuse, didn't move. "I remember clearly," he said, "because I waited, and you didn't come back." Her fingers tightened around the edge of the table. "You're overthinking. This is your child. Why would you doubt that?" He watched her carefully, not her words, but her body, her hands, her breathing, her eyes avoiding his. "You're supposed to be happy," she said, her voice rising. "Why are you acting like this?" Because truth doesn't shout, he thought. Lies do. He forced another small smile. "I am happy," he said. "I'm just surprised." She leaned forward. "It's yours, Ion. Say it. Just say it." He didn't. Silence sat between them, heavy and loud. Zara stood suddenly. "I'm tired," she said sharply. "I need rest." "Think about what you're saying." She walked away without looking back. Ion stayed seated long after the food went cold, pregnant again. He stared at the candle as it burned lower. The flame shook. just like his marriage still standing, but already dying. He didn't cry, he didn't shout. He understood something important that night. If he confronted her now, she would lie better. If he shouted, she would become the victim. So he chose something harder than anger. Silence with purpose. He cleaned the table alone, turned off the lights, lay in bed staring at the ceiling, listening to her door close in the other room. Tomorrow, he would not ask questions. He would find answers. Ion became quiet in a new way. Not the tired silence of a broken marriage, but the focused silence of a man watching carefully. He did not accuse, he did not follow in anger. He simply paid attention. Zara's habits began to form patterns. She left the house earlier than before, dressed carefully, even on ordinary days. Perfume where there used to be none. Her phone never left her hand, and when it did, it was always face down. Calls came at odd hours. She stepped outside to answer them. Sometimes she whispered, sometimes she laughed softly, the way she never laughed with him anymore. One night while she showered, her phone buzzed on the bed. Ion didn't touch it. He didn't need to. The name flashing on the screen wasn't saved just a number, but it called again and again. She changed her passwords 2 days later. He didn't ask why, he simply began to notice. He memorized her routines. Tuesdays, she closed the boutique late. Thursdays, she said she visited her cousin. Saturdays, she went shopping alone. One Thursday, he followed her. Not like a jealous husband, like a stranger. He kept distance, watched reflections in windows, stayed out of sight. She didn't go to her cousin's house. She went to a cafe near her boutique, small, quiet, hidden from busy streets. She arrived early, sat alone, checked her phone again and again. Then a black car stopped outside. A man stepped out. He was older than Ion, well-dressed, confident. His watch alone looked more expensive than Ion's monthly salary. Zara stood quickly. Her face changed when she saw him, soft, excited, hopeful. She hugged him, not like a friend, like someone who belonged to her. They talked, they laughed. He touched her hand. She didn't pull away. Ion stood across the street, invisible. Later he followed the car from a distance. It led to a large house in a rich neighborhood. Security at the gate, a sign with a company name. That night, Ion searched quietly. The man's name appeared everywhere. Business articles, photos, at events, married, 2 children, a respected name in the city, power, money, a life Zara could never have with him. The truth burned, but it did not explode. It sank slowly into his chest. He went home and said nothing. Days passed. He watched her better now, not with love, not with hope, but with clarity. She lied easily. I'm tired from work. I went to see family. I had errands. Her lies sounded practiced. One evening she left again. He followed again. This time she met him near her boutique. They didn't go to a cafe. They drove together. Ion followed. His hands were steady on the steering wheel. His heart was not. The car stopped outside a hotel. Not small, not cheap, elegant, private. Zara stepped out first, looked around, smiled when she saw him. He placed a hand on her back as they walked inside. Ion parked across the street. He watched the doors close behind them. In that moment, the last doubt inside him died. His wife was carrying a child that was not his. He did not cry. He did not scream. He simply whispered to himself, now I know. And knowledge, he realized, hurts more than suspicion, but it also sets you free. Truth did not arrive loudly. It arrived piece by piece. Ion began collecting it quietly, like someone picking up broken glass with bare hands. He took photos when he followed them. Not too close, not too obvious, just enough. Zara laughing beside him. Zara entering cars that weren't hers. Zara walking into places she never mentioned. He wrote down dates, times, locations. At night, when the house slept, he searched hotel records, social posts, business events. He compared everything with the timeline of her pregnancy. 3 months, the cafe meeting, the late nights, the sudden new clothes, the changed passwords. The pieces fit too well. He stared at the proof until it stopped feeling real. Some nights he didn't sleep at all. He lay still, listening to the house breathe. Sometimes he heard Zara coughing in the other room. Sometimes he heard her phone buzz. Every sound felt like a reminder of how invisible he had become. He cried without sound, not like a broken man. Like a man who refused to break loudly. His chest ached constantly. Food tasted like nothing. Work became heavy, slow, but he kept moving because stopping would mean falling. He wanted to confront her. He imagined the words, the anger, the questions, the pain. But every version ended the same way. Her crying, lying, begging, blaming, and him feeling weaker for listening. So he chose a harder path. Preparation. He met a lawyer quietly during lunch breaks. Learned his rights. Learned how to leave without chaos. He checked his finances. Opened a separate account. Moved money slowly, carefully. He gathered documents, marriage papers, IDs, bank records. He stored them in a place she never looked. He began to live like someone who was already gone. At home, he spoke less, watched more, felt less. Zara noticed. You're different, she said one night. He looked at her. People change. She smiled nervously. He stopped asking where she went, stopped wondering who she talked to. He no longer waited for her voice to sound kind again. Emotionally, he stepped back inch by inch. He no longer imagined fixing things. He imagined surviving them. Some nights he stood in the bathroom staring at his own reflection, trying to recognize the man he had become. He looked older, quieter, stronger in ways that didn't show. He whispered to himself, "You didn't deserve this, but you will survive it." Then, one evening Zara came to him again. She looked serious, almost soft. She placed a hand on her stomach. "We're going to be parents," she said gently. The words felt heavy, like chains. Ion looked at her, not with anger, not with love, with final clarity. Inside him, something ended, and something stronger took its place. Ion chose a quiet night, no shouting outside, no guests, no noise to hide behind. Zara was in the living room, scrolling through her phone, when he sat across from her. "We need to talk," he said. Her fingers paused. "About what?" He didn't answer. He reached into his bag and placed the photos on the table, one by one. Slowly Zara's face changed with every picture. First confusion, then fear, then defeat. He laid down dates, times, notes, messages he had copied, hotel names. He said nothing. She stared at the table as if it might disappear. "I can explain," she whispered. "You don't have to," Ion said calmly. "I already understand." Her eyes filled with tears. "I was lonely. You were never there. You stopped seeing me." "I didn't leave," he replied. "You did." She stood up suddenly. "I made a mistake." He looked at her, steady, unshaking. "You didn't make a mistake. You made a choice." Her body collapsed back onto the couch. She cried openly now. "I was weak. I needed to feel wanted. You chose someone else to feel that," Ion said. "That's not weakness. That's decision." She reached for his hand. He pulled it away. "Please," she begged. "I'll end it. I swear. Just don't leave." Ion felt pain but not confusion. "I'm not angry," he said quietly. "I'm finished." She shook her head. "You can't just walk away." "I already have," he replied. She tried blame next. "You worked too much. You ignored me. You made me invisible." He nodded slowly. "Maybe I failed you, but I never betrayed you." Her voice broke. "The baby is not mine," he said, "and you know it." Silence crushed the room. "I don't want revenge," he continued. "I don't want drama. I don't want to destroy you." "Then stay," she whispered. "No," he said gently. "I choose myself." He stood up. Her eyes followed him like a child watching someone leave forever. "I'll pack tonight," he said. "Tomorrow I'm gone." She fell to her knees. "Please, don't do this." He looked down at her, not with anger but with goodbye. "This marriage ended the moment you chose someone else." He walked away. Behind him, she cried like someone who finally understood what loss felt like. And in her heart, she knew he was really leaving. Zara learned quickly that promises made in secret disappear in daylight. She went to him, her lover, her escape, the man who had whispered futures he never meant to build. She told him everything, about Ion leaving, about the baby, about needing help. He listened in silence. Then he said, "This is your problem." She stared at him. "You said you loved me." He looked away. "I can't destroy my family." "What about me?" she cried. He stood up. "I never promised you a life, just moments." That was all she got. Moments when people began to notice her swelling stomach. Questions followed. When Ion moved out, whispers became loud. Her family demanded answers. Neighbors watched. Friends stepped back. Some judged her, some pitied her. Most avoided her. She told different stories, but none saved her from truth. Ion left quietly. No shouting, no public scene. He packed his clothes, his books, the few things that still felt like his. He did not take memories. They were too heavy. He moved into a small apartment. One room, one window, one bed. The first night he couldn't sleep. Not because of Zara, but because of silence. Real silence? Not the broken silence of marriage, but the clean kind that comes after storms. He sat on the floor, back against the wall, breathing slowly. He felt pain but also something close to peace. He cooked for himself, ate alone, walked alone, worked longer hours, talked less. Some nights, loneliness hit hard. He would reach for his phone then, remember there was no one to call. Healing is not loud. It is slow and lonely, but it is honest. Zara tried to call him once. He didn't answer. He wasn't angry. He was done. One evening while unpacking old boxers, he found a photo. Their wedding. They were smiling, young, hopeful, standing close like nothing could ever come between them. He stared at it for a long time. Not with hatred, not even sadness, with understanding. That love had been real, but it had died. He held the photo with both hands. And slowly, without drama, he tore it in half. Then again, and again. Until it was just pieces of something that once mattered. He placed them in the trash. And for the first time since everything began, he felt lighter. Time did what anger never could. It healed. Not quickly, not gently, but honestly. Ion began rebuilding his life like someone repairing a house after fire, careful, slow, choosing what deserved to exist again. He focused on work, took extra shifts, accepted responsibility he once avoided. His managers noticed the change, not the pain, but the discipline. He joined a small gym near his apartment. At first his body felt heavy, weak, but every drop of sweat felt like proof he was still alive, still moving. He ate better, slept deeper, learned how to be alone without feeling abandoned. Some evenings, he walked through busy streets just to feel part of the world again. Other nights, he stayed home with a book in silence that no longer hurt. People came into his life, coworkers, neighbors, strangers who became friends. Some women smiled at him. Some tried to get closer. He didn't run toward love. He didn't run away from it either. He told himself, I will not fill emptiness with noise. So he waited. He learned that peace is not excitement. It is quiet acceptance of who you are when no one is watching. Zara watched from a distance. She saw him once at a market, stronger, calmer, smiling at someone who wasn't her. She wanted to speak. She didn't. Her life had grown small, hard, heavy with regret. She understood too late. Some doors close forever. Ion never looked back. One evening he stood on his balcony, watching the city lights flicker like distant stars. He thought of the man he used to be, the man who waited for love that no longer existed. He smiled not because he was happy about what he lost, but because he was proud of what he saved. Himself, he realized something simple and powerful. He didn't hate Zara. He didn't miss the lies. He didn't even wish things were different. He felt nothing heavy, only light, only freedom. If there's one thing I want you to understand, it's this. Betrayal doesn't always arrive with thunder. Sometimes it creeps in quietly, disguised as normal life, disguised as love. Sometimes it hides in the very person you trusted the most. I know. I've lived it. I've felt it, the sharp sting of knowing that the life you built together was being shared with someone else. Someone invisible to you, but present in every stolen smile, every hidden message, every secret meeting. When Zara told me I was going to be a father again, I felt the world pause. At first I thought anger would rise. I thought I would yell, I would break, I would demand answers. But that is not how strength works. Strength does not shout, strength does not chase. Strength observes, understands, and then acts not in reaction, but in decision. I want you to understand something important. Love without boundaries invites betrayal. You cannot love endlessly while tolerating dishonesty, secrecy, and disrespect. You cannot cling to someone who has already chosen another path. Love that does not honor your dignity is not love at all, it's a trap. And once you see the truth, you owe yourself more than excuses, more than patience, more than hope that someone else will change. You owe yourself freedom. Silence is not weakness, it is discipline. I did not confront her the moment I suspected. I watched, I waited, I gathered proof, I let the story reveal itself. Because silence, when controlled, becomes clarity. Silence allows you to see the truth without distortion. Silence protects your peace, even when the world around you is chaotic. And yes, silence hurts, but it is the kind of hurt that teaches you, shapes you, and eventually frees you. Self-respect is non-negotiable. I learned that painfully, piece by piece, photo by photo, late night by late night. I learned that walking away is not surrendered, is triumph. It is refusing to participate in your own pain. It is choosing yourself when no one else will. You do not need to beg, negotiate, or justify your worth to anyone who has already decided you are optional. Self-respect is your shield, your armor, and sometimes, your only companion in a world that will try to convince you otherwise. Walking away can be victory. Leaving Zara, leaving the house, leaving the memories, it was not defeat. It was the first time I truly honored myself. It was the first time I refused to let someone else's lies define my life. Pain existed, yes, but it had purpose. And with every step away from betrayal, I felt my heart grow lighter, my mind calmer, my life sharper, clearer, ready for new beginnings I could build on my own terms. Now, I look at the past without bitterness. I do not wish harm on her. I do not carry anger. I do not dream of revenge. I carry understanding. I carry freedom, and that is priceless. Have you ever been betrayed by someone you trusted? Did you stay silent or did you fight? Did you choose yourself or did you give your strength away to someone who never valued it? Tell your story in the comments. Someone out there needs your truth. Someone out there needs the courage to see the lies for what they are and reclaim their life. If this story touched you, share it. Because silence can break people, but truth can save them. Because sometimes, the hardest thing you can do is walk away, but it is also the most powerful. And when you do, you will find that freedom is not just a word, it is the life you were meant to live all along.